Hey YouTube. Alright, so this video is not a rant video. This video is a one-year review of Roofstock as a buyer. So if you're looking for a rant video, feel free to skip this video. This one is all about Roofstock. So if you have heard of Roofstock, Roofstock is it's a marketplace for buyers and sellers. You can sell your property there, you can buy property there. And they focus on like single family homes, duplexes, and fourplexes, usually nothing bigger than that. And one of the key benefits of this site is that you can sell your property with tenants in it, and as a buyer, you're looking for properties with tenants in the property. So it kind of works out for both the buyer and the seller in this case, so it's investors selling to investors. And so what I did a bit of research and I looked at the offerings that they had, and I started to look at cities. I wanted to make sure that it was in a growing city with good prospects. There's a lot of stuff in Memphis there, but Memphis is a shrinking city. I wouldn't touch those. And so you just want to make sure that the city you're in is growing, it's got some good economic prospects, companies are moving in. So like with my property, I got a bit lucky. I'll go into that later, but like a month after buying it, Amazon decided they were gonna put like a new receiving center like 2 miles away from my property. And then shortly after, another big company came in, but I'll go into that later. So on Roofstock, there's a lot of properties that are fairly priced and some are gonna be just obscenely priced. You gotta be careful. Check comparable sold homes in the area just to make sure you're not getting a terrible deal. You're never going to get a great deal going through Roofstock, but you probably won't get an awful deal. It's just a good deal. It's just, or not even good, it just is a deal. And you'll get a decent return, probably, as long as you stay in a relatively nice area. Don't go for those 60K and under properties. I wouldn't touch those. You're gonna have a lot of tenant issues in those. Keep your rents above at least $1,000 a month. Depending on the area, maybe more. You wanna go for something preferably made in the last 20 years. That's just my preference because you're gonna have less things breaking down. And in the inspection, so what Roofstock has is they've got inspection reports on the property, so you could normally see those for some properties. For other properties, you have to wait for the inspection report until an offer is on, but some properties you can actually see the inspection report before you place an offer, which is great. And my property had an inspection report before I put in an offer, and luckily I managed to get it because it turned out to be a great deal. And so I'll get into more about that. So my property, it almost hit the 1% rule. It was very close. And because it is in Indiana, expenses were pretty low for everything. And so my return over the past year, I've had no real tenant issues. I haven't had to evict anybody, so that's always a plus. I did have an issue where the tenant decided to keep a boat outside the property, and the HOA doesn't allow boats. So that was a little bit fun getting them to take the boat somewhere else. I would recommend not buying a property with an HOA, sort of. I mean, you're gonna have to deal with HOA issues, but at the same time, HOAs can keep property values going well. I mean, they'll keep the trash away. They'll keep people from storing boats on their property, like mine. So, I mean, it's up to you. Do your research, whatever you feel like. And as for the buying process itself, you place a bid. It's really simple. And then once it gets accepted, you go through the process of buying the house, which is actually pretty easy. And you pay Roofstock their little fee. The buyer pays a fee. I think it's the greater of $500 or some percentage. And it's not a lot on the buyer side. It's a little higher on the seller side. The sell side is 2.5%, which is still cheaper than going through a realtor. But the process, they hold your hand. It's wonderful. So they will go through all the steps and email you and give you updates, and they'll have people come to your place and have you sign stuff. And it's really, really convenient. And I never had to do really anything outside of my schedule. I didn't need to take time off work. I just scheduled a time that works. So you have to get like a notary to come to your place at some point to sign some stuff. And most of the time they're willing to come to you after work. So like I didn't need to take any time off work. They really advertise this as a hands-off experience, and it really is. And property management wise, they will set you up with a property manager. They have recommended ones, and they'll start the introduction process. I went with a property manager that was already in place. I can't say I'm too happy with the property manager because their communication is a bit lacking. You have to kind of like push them a bit if you want them to do certain things, and email them a couple times. But other than that, they've done their job and they've collected the rent and nothing has gone seriously wrong, so I guess I can't complain too much. There's a lot more property managers nowadays for single family homes than there used to be, so if you're looking for property management, you normally have other options. So at some point I may decide to do that if something goes wrong, to put it bluntly. But as for returns, 1 year returns, so normally when you buy a rental property, you don't think about 1 year returns. You think about like 10, 15, 20, 30 year returns. But in this case, my 1 year returns are a little incredible because not only did I have every month rented out, and they paid some late fees, so I got rent plus late fees, and I got just way more appreciation than I was planning because Amazon moved their receiving center close by, and then Cummins just announced that they were opening up a new expansion in the area, and they were going to invest like $30-40 million into it, which is a lot of money in a suburb of Indiana. So I mean, prices have been going up. That's great, and I don't really plan on selling unless they go up just some ridiculous amount. This was a long-term investment after all, and I am so happy with Roofstock that I will eventually probably sell this property back through Roofstock and buy another property through Roofstock. It has just been that great. Now, a lot of you are probably wondering why I don't just buy a property close by, something I can manage myself. Well, one, I don't want to manage anything myself. The whole point is to have passive diversification. And two, I live in an area where the median cost of housing or a single family home is going to cost you $700K. So that's, you're not going to get any cash flow on that. You may get some appreciation, and if you're really smart, you might be able to buy it under market value, but I mean, at that point, you need to be a real estate expert, and I'm not, to put it simply. And Roofstock is great for people who are not real estate experts. Just keep your rent above around $1,000, maybe a bit more in certain areas. If you're worried about bad tenants, keep your neighborhood rating in like the 4-star, 5-star range. Check the schools, make sure the schools are like average at least 6 and up. That's normally a good spot to be in. And do your research when buying on Roofstock. They don't do all the research for you, obviously. That would be a whole nother service, but they are happy to point you towards certain areas and talk to you about those areas. I'm sorry, it is a Friday and speaking is hard. All right, so leave questions in the comments. I am very curious to hear what people are thinking about Roofstock. This was just a little impromptu review. I just got home from work and decided, hey, I haven't seen a lot of 1-year reviews on the buy side of Roofstock, and I figured I'd throw one out there. If anybody from Roofstock is watching this, hi, thank you for the shirt. They sent me a shirt after buying the property. It was kind of cool. And yeah, I have nothing but good things to say about Roofstock. Their commissions are lower than realtors. They will set you up with everything you need. And unless the housing market tanks next year, which would be kind of unfortunate, everything's going great, and highly recommend them. And even if the market does tank, I mean, 2008, financial crisis, I mean, rents didn't really go down, so as long as you buy a property that's for cash flow, you're probably going to be fine. If you're cash flow positive, and my property is cash flow positive by about 300 a month, 300, 400. And so like I've got a decent buffer. I mean, I should be fine during whatever financial meltdown comes next. And now I'm just rambling, but hey, leave this a like if this is the only one-year review you found. And let me know if you want more about this. I'm very happy to talk about this. I have nothing but good things to say. Thanks.